can't decide if I'm sprinting to get to the finish line or if I am just trying to turn the page to my life story. Both, I assume. I'm not actually a sprinter though, so that's, problematic. But 9 down, 8 to go on my final countdown of reading every chapter of my SOULworks Trilogy Homecoming, narrated by myself, the author, Lauren Heistad. Okay, this is chapter 63 out of 70, and it is called Mirror, Mirror. Okay. Wait, I forgot to get adjusted before I turn the camera on, so there we go. Forgot to look in the mirror. Or did I? Okay. Many mystics say life is solely a reflection of what we ourselves are projecting out into the world. Others say we have no control over any of our reality, but are just players on a stage being directed by a higher power. I disagree with both accounts. It's kind of my jam, isn't it? I like the middle ground usually. As with most of my teachings and thought processes, I believe there's a balance and truth somewhere in the middle of those two extremes. In fact, I think there is a 3-part involvement in the co-creation process of this world. A reality I feel is critical to understand health and wellness. I do believe there is a larger divine order to all things. I do. However, we are on this earth to experience free will, which creates an ever-expanding reality. A reality that means our life and well-being are based not only on a predestined life path of events, but also on the thoughts and actions we project into the world in unison with what others are projecting back. Certainly in understanding, we all need to wrap our heads around if we are to establish global peace and wellness. Now, I started noticing the little things in life that provided a deeper understanding and scope to the effects energy has on our health. I mean really small things. Like an ongoing earache, for example, that would always manifest into an infection. My logic could certainly blame my swimming or the fact that I love a long soak in the tub. External factors that could clearly trigger yet another infection. I could take the more spiritual perspective that I'm not a good listener, perhaps, or willing to hear others' opinions, which I admit can be an issue at times. Or I could take the older doctrine approach and believe it was either destiny or a punishment by a higher power. But that would be using either logical or spiritual experiences and explanations to justify a reaction my body was having to something much deeper, yet more practical than that. Energy. It was when I started being able to trace the energy flow that I could really get a clear understanding of physical ailments. My ear infection, for example, were not internal. Yes, they showed up in my body that way, but when I took the time to feel the energy and watch the flow, I could clearly see the energy was being directed at me. Opinions of others, harsh judgments upon my life's path, or even externalized worry and concern from my family and friends were just some of the underlying causes for my ongoing infections. In fact, if I were to truly look at the cause of my auditory unrest, it would be that I was internalizing everything I could energetically hear others were saying about my life and life's work. Not my imagination. Not my plethora of insecurities. Real, legitimate opinions being directed my way, causing internal pain and anguish. I also learned during this time of exploration that I could redirect the energy flow and keep my infections at bay. I could go from having this brutally painful ear to inner peace and improved health almost instantly. I could. The trick was to take the time to assess all changes to my energetic body, figure out the actual cause to the disruption in my auric field, and then shift the energy. Not shift it as in send it back to the sender in an angry or victimized mentality. Nope, that doesn't work. Simply to reiterate that I could see what was happening, but that I loved them despite their misguided opinions and energetic darts barreling towards me. That was one piece of the equation. The other piece was to deal with my own insecurities and lack of self-love. A missing and largest key element that would intrinsically allow people's thoughts and judgments to affect me in the first place. You see, people can't affect our health or life path when we are strong and secure in our own heart center, choices, and reflections. When we love ourselves and learn to value our own path, we gain an orb of energy around us that is impenetrable by others. However, when we are vulnerable to our own personal limitations and unworthiness, external factors can most certainly affect our energy and physical reality. Of course it can. It is in that moment of unrest within us that thought projections of others or environmental abnormalities cross our personal bubble of space, causing a physical discord to our health and reality. Of course, when people send love and goodwill, while always considering how their thoughts and actions are affecting others, it has the potential of having the opposite effect. It does. But unfortunately, that is not the predominant co-creation vibe the world currently resides within. At least not yet. Instead, the predominant energy we send to ourselves and all others is still full of judgments, criticisms, controlling opinions, or an overall lack of care as to the effects we have on others. It is these thoughts, intentions, and boundary-crossing actions that are causing the majority of imbalance in the world. That is a truth we must completely understand to fully process both the ramifications and the solutions. Truth. Back. Wow. Losing my voice. I'll be right back. The path to most resistance is a tricky one, isn't it? Okay, here we go. Back to my own health and wellness. My lungs were another weak spot within my aura that caused similar health issues. Since my first bout of pneumonia, my lungs have continued to be my Achilles heel. In other words, a weak spot for my energy field to easily become out of balance. For my personal situation, I quickly learned the energy flow in this case was both internal and external. For example, sometimes I would fear I had nothing worthy to say to this world, and I would question my own integrity and teachings. When this happened, it would be the equivalent to taking my own breath away. Watch that just happen. Leaving my lungs to settle into a deep, heavy rhythm of insecurities. All internalized, and all a result of my own lack of confidence. So true. Other times, I would feel quite confident in my own understanding, yet people within the community were aggressively reacting to my teachings and freedom to express my truth. In those moments, it created an external pressure coming from beyond my own energetic field, yet clearly affecting my health just the same. Whether the anomaly stemmed from an external force or an internal insecurity, found much deeper inside. The outcome would still be the same: an overtaxed respiratory system. In truth, the cure to rebalance the energy in both situations was the same, whether the energy comes from outside sources or from within. The solution was to learn how to manage my own energy field while honoring all others. For myself, that was accomplished by letting go of my own perceived weaknesses or unworthiness, while learning how to believe in myself and my life path. Once I had that down, the opinions of others bounced right off me. Lastly, there is one more aspect of health and wellness as it pertains to the cause and effect of all others: ancestral patterns. Hereditary health issues can and do affect us, but only if we let them. I find every soul family has aspects from the past to both heal and move forward from, that seem to move from generation to generation when left unaddressed. Often as one person within a family lineage leaves this world without healing the underlying health issue, the symptoms and experiences are passed forward to the next generation. However, this does not need to be viewed as a detrimental or genetic flaw of weakness. It doesn't. Instead, you can view this shift in energy as an opportunity to overcome the past experiences held within your shared lineage. This is not carrying a burden for another within your soul family, or having it passed down with no reprieve from your genetic gene pool. We are each an individual reflection of source potential. Therefore, we possess the ability to actively become a conscious co-creator to this world by determining all old patterns stop here. You do have the power. You do have the power. Trace the energy. Find the underlying cause for the dis-ease, and then utilize both your free will and intentions to override the old programming. It is time for an upgrade. Love yourself enough to be the change for both yourself and generations yet to come. Okay, mastering your soul works. The hardest person you will ever love unconditionally is yourself. You can send streams of love, support, and compassion to others in your life. But until you learn to wholeheartedly love yourself for who you are and how you showed up in this life, you may constantly feel like the world is working against you. You will even unknowingly help the universe by anchoring your own thoughts of unworthiness or self-inflicted judgments into the ethers. On the other hand, if you can see the beauty in your own path, remove the judgments and criticisms you or anyone else constantly sends your way, and stop second-rating your own experiences or life choices, you will begin to notice beautiful changes arriving in your world. In those moments of self-surrender, you will become resilient to the negative energy or reactions of others, and instead feel the unconditional love streaming towards you in all directions. Most importantly, those emanating from you. I have spent my entire life loving others unconditionally. I have. That is not my ego talking. That is just a fact. No matter how anyone showed up, how they acted towards myself or others, how they projected their own agendas and perspectives, or how selfish they may have acted, I have always seen their light and defended their actions undisputably. I've always seen their inner beauty reflecting out into the world, even when that beauty was dimmed by either circumstance, behaviors, or ironically their own fears and insecurities, which they often project outwardly in a cruel and selfish fashion. Shockingly, I have found that most of us find it easier to see the beauty in all others instead of seeing it from within. It is so much easier to value the actions, behaviors, or life path choices than to look at our own reflections in the mirror and learn to see, exhibit, and honor the inner and outer beauty you yourself hold. I've worked really hard on that. I have. It's not been easy to love the spiritual path I have experienced, nor has it been easy to start standing in what I know. There is most certainly a balance point we all need to strive to achieve. We must love ourselves and all others unconditionally. We must treat others the way we ourselves wish to be treated. We must find the balance point between the selfishness of the I mentality and the other extreme of loving all others more than we actually love ourselves. Unfortunately, many in this world fall into the first category. The healers, humanitarians, and heart-centered folks often fall into the second extreme. Both categories slightly off balance. The balance point is at the we mentality. The balance point is when we value our own self-worth while valuing all others. You and I both know the world needs to change. In a million years, I would have never expected I would be called to help make that change happen. Yet here I am, living out prophecy and learning to love and believe in myself despite my own circumstances, self-doubt, and insecurities. I'm working very hard, despite my own fears, to see my own inner beauty, no more or no less than I would extend that love unconditionally to you. When you begin to see and love yourself unconditionally, there are a few things that begin to unfold. First of all, the people in your life who actually loved you by condition start to fade away. In learning to love yourself unconditionally, you must allow these events to unfold. You can send them love from a distance, but until each of you has arrived at the balance point within the we mentality, do yourself a favor and love yourself enough to honor the distance provided. Stay focused on the heart-centered balance and compassion you wish to emanate. Eventually, they will do the same. Secondly, those who have always loved you despite the conditions start standing by your side more sure-footed in all that you do. Regardless of whether they understand your life journey or not, they will be there for you. No questions asked, no hidden agendas. Thank you. Thirdly, you will start to release all concerns of how others perceive you or what they project your way, whether that is conditional love, unconditional love, or even no love at all, but rather fear, hate, or judgment. Not that you can't love them all unconditionally and hope everyone eventually finds that balance point, but because you love yourself enough to stay true to your heart, regardless of what others are projecting your way. As you do, both your life and health will improve. Truth. I plan to always love people unconditionally. In all honesty, I don't think I know how to do it any other way. The interesting thing is that I've finally learned how to add one more condition for myself. If your love towards me is conditional or non-existent, then I will love myself enough to let you slowly move out of my life and my energetic awareness. Not because I am better than you, but because I love myself, my health, and my well-being enough to let you go. Needed a moment there. And I'll repeat the last lines. If your love towards me is conditional or non-existent, then I will love myself enough to let you slowly move out of my life and my energetic awareness. Not because I am better than you, but because I love myself, my health, and my well-being enough to let you go. I suggest you do the same. Start looking in the mirror and finding that space of inner and outer balance, which for many of us starts with unconditionally loving ourselves. For those of you who traditionally only love or care about yourself, your community, or your nation, while sending judgments and ill will towards others, I suggest you also look at your reflection, find the balance point, and realize which perspective is truly the fairest of them all. The health and well-being of our collective world depends on it. This chapter caught me by surprise. I thought it was a simpler chapter than that one. Anyways, I made it through, and now it's your move. Remove opinions and judgments. When you fully believe in yourself enough to remain unscathed by the opinions and judgments of others, you are standing firmly in your own soul potential. When you offer all others the same respect and compassion, you are finally standing in our collective potential. Next, trace the flow of energy. Within every imbalanced state or dis-ease, there will always be an underlying current of energy contributing to that reality. Trace the flow of energy and learn how to observe and shift the anomaly as opposed to reacting to it with anger, fear, or resentment. Honor that we are all a work in progress. We are all a work in progress. Just waking up to the very real and vivid truth of how much we affect and are affected by all others. Next, choose empowerment. When viewing any energetic exchange from an expanded point of view, there will always be many ways to respond. Many ways. The victimhood mentality is based on pointing fingers and laying blame. The empowerment mentality utilizes every imbalanced experience as an opportunity to create something new and improved. There exists a neutral state of mentality, remaining detached from or impartial to the circumstances at hand, choosing instead to ignore the imbalances completely. And finally, there is a denial mentality, by refusing to look at life as a product of our co-creative capacity. Choose empowerment. We are in an unprecedented position to learn from our interactions with all others and ourselves. The world and all those within it hold so much potential for change. However, there's only one collective mentality that has the capacity to fulfill the higher state of being. Liberate yourself and all others and step into your power. Next, change your perspective. There are a few teachings out there, I must admit, grate on my nerves. But one of the key concepts used quite frequently lately is the idea of mirroring. In many circles, it is believed those we encounter in life that perhaps rub us the wrong way, are difficult, intrusive, or manipulative in nature are a reflection of our own inner being. When we heal those aspects of ourselves, we stop manifesting people in our lives that mirror our own inner shadows. I believe this to be one of the most disempowering teachings as of late. Although sometimes in our life, people do create a mirror of our specific circumstances so that we may better see and understand our own situation from a larger vantage point. For the most part, the traditional concept of mirroring causes even more confusion and inner conflict. What it typically does is take the character flaws and imperfections of one person and superimpose it on the other. On a global scale, for example, that is like saying, if only the victims of the Holocaust could have perhaps found it in themselves to stop being such dictators, then perhaps Hitler would never have emerged on the scene. How barbaric is that? Instead, I see mirroring slightly different. I view every interaction in this world and every relationship as a learning opportunity. In this regard, each person has sometimes an opposite. Sorry, my computer just signed into an online chat. I view every interaction in this world and every relationship as a learning opportunity. In this regard, each person has an opposite characteristic or perspective to share and learn. For example, one person in the relationship might need to work on not crossing the boundaries of others, while the second person in the relationship might need to develop skills on how to stand up for themselves. Each has the opportunity to learn from the other, thereby creating the potential for balance. Change your perspective on mirroring so that you can take accountability for your own personal quirks, but certainly not the characteristics and behaviors of all others. Next, identify your Achilles heel. We all tend to have one, meaning we all have areas in our life or physical being that are not quite as strong as another. Find that spot within you and work to create change. I find it very effective to always take the time to chase down and tune into the energy within our body. Even in our more typical cold and flu seasons, it is very effective to check into each body part where you feel unrest seeping in, and learn how to talk to your body by addressing the incoming energy. If you feel the sniffles coming on, ask yourself where the inner confusion or lack of confidence stems from. If your throat begins to tighten, give it a chance to voice its own concerns, even if that is just silently communicated to yourself. If your lungs feel heavy, take the time to breathe through the unrest, knowing full well you are more than worthy to stand your ground while removing heavy burdens or unrealistic expectations off your chest. As much as we are all in this together, energetically, each person only holds the responsibility to navigate and manage their own energy field. As you talk to each body part, listen to and be open to what surfaces. I find our bodies are the perfect blueprint for understanding our inner mind. Whether under duress or disease, or even a pandemic situation that spreads rapidly throughout the world, there is still a personal message beneath the surface when any imbalance enters our own auric space. Addressing your inner emotions is key to moving your energy back into alignment. It does not mean you need to know all the answers, thankfully. It means you should listen to your body, which essentially is working to guide you more solidly onto your own life path. It is, and a lovely way to look at it, I might add. Creating this self-dialogue and addressing all underlying emotions will always help establish inner peace, even if you must repeat the same process many times each day. By doing so, you are courageously releasing all logic behind our healing potential and instead allowing your higher self to step forward and alchemize your divine connection to all things, body, mind, and soul. Lastly, look in the mirror and repeat after me. Dear soul potential, in myself and all others, I see and believe in you. Thank you for seeing and believing in me.